Hello, colleague. Welcome to this lecture again. And now, in this discussion, we are going to demonstrate how we can simulate in the shear version 17 of Siemens. We are going to do this by running a simple logic operation of an OR gate. So we are going to do an OR logic operation whereby when you have one input high, you always have a high output. When all the inputs are high, you have a high output. When either of the inputs is high, you always have a high output. And that is a simple operation of an OR gate or an OR logic operation. So let's dive into this immediately. So what we do, we are going to go to our file that we have already created. If you wanted to start afresh, you could start a new project. And let me call it YouTube OR gate. So let me save that. So my project has been created called YouTube OR gate. So what I'm going to do, I need to have devices like a CPU. So for me to add a CPU, I go to add a new device. So when I come here, I find the controllers and I click on controllers. I'm going to select this SIMATIC S7 or step 7 1200. I click on the CPU and I'm going to select this one, CPU 1212FC. Make sure that whatever you select here is always above 4, because if it is less than 4, then this CPU is not going to work. So 4.5 is good for me to go. I select. Now my CPU is already here. So if I can check here, I see I have PLC 1 and is CPU 1212FC. So that is the version of the CPU I'm going to use. So right away, I'm going to go to creating a simple ladder logic. So what I do, I go to program blocks. So when I got program blocks, I go to the main. Yes, I go to the main block. So let me create a simple ladder logic here. So I said we are going to do an OR logic operation. So I will bring my contact here. I create a branch here. So when I create a branch there, it will come. Then I add here another contact. So when I reach here, obviously I want to come back there. So here, so I have two push buttons or two contacts. I can say this is push button 1, this is push button 2, and they are sending the output to a coil. So let us put our output to represent a coil there, and we shall now name this and also, of course, giving them addresses. So, like a computer in networking, also a PLC uses addresses in configurations and also communicating these inputs to the right output. So now let's go to PLC tags. So these ones are tags, and we can create them by going to the PLC tags. I show all. So when I show all here, I don't have any, but I can add. For example, I can say this is a push button 1. I come here and call this push button 2. Maybe my output, I call it a motor. So I want my output to be a motor. So I go to addresses. What is very important is to mark the addresses. So this is Siemens, and Siemens uses I 0.0, that is the first input. Then the next input is I 0.1. 0.1. Then now I want to make this one a Q, because outputs are represented by Q in Siemens. So what I do, I put my Q and make sure that this is my first output, and I will have a 0.0 there. So these ones have already been created, and now I go back to my main. So when I come back to my main block, so what I will do, I'll click here and select, this is my push button 1, this one is my push button 2, then I come here, my output is going to be a motor. So after finishing all this, putting tags and addresses, what I'm going to do is to first of all compile. So when I compile, I'm going to make sure that I download this program to my PLC controller. But before I do that, I need to check something. Let me go to properties. I go to protection and make sure that my program is having no protection issues. Then I also go to my PLC. When I go to my PLC, I go to general. I go to properties and go to general. So I look for protection and security. So if I don't check these settings, my program may never compile and may never run. So I also give it a full access. So here I'm now set. Let me go back to my ladder logic. So what I do, let me recompile, and there are no errors here. So what I do, I can download it to the CPU. Okay, let me cancel here and actually run a simulation. So when I run a simulation, it is going to open this other SIM. So make sure that when you install this SIM, a PLC SIM, you have two. You have a shear V7, that is shear portal for writing the programs, and then PLC SIM for running. So you must make sure that you have these programs. So what I do, when I reach here, I click search. So now I start searching. So it is there. Now I do the loading. I consider as trusted. Then it starts compiling. Wait for it to compile. So our program has finished compiling. Let's load. So we are loading it to the controller. So we come here and start the module. Then we say finish. So now our program is ready for running. But before we do that, we need to remember that this is a simulation. So we are going to use a force table for us to change or to press these buttons, giving them high, giving them low. So let us look for watch and force tables. We create a force table. So this is our force table. So what we do, we look for the buttons. So we had the push button 1, we selected that. So we have also a push button 2, we have also the motor. So all is set. Now our work is to do the simulation. So what we do, we run this simulation, make sure that our SIM, PLC SIM, is in run mode. Then I go to my ladder logic and we do monitor. Click here to do the monitoring. So you can see right now it is ready for results. So what we do, we are going to force our values. Remember, this one is false, this is also false. And so let us force this and we see what happens. So if one of them, if actually all of them are false, we have a low output at the motor. So let us change this We change this to 1 so that it becomes true. So what we do, we again come here and force everything to be high. So you can see we have a high output. Now, having seen that, let's make this one false and make this one true. So if it is true, we still see that now the power line will change direction and will pass through the area of push button 2, and then our motor will be on. So we are going to make all of them true, and we see what happens. So you can see, let's make this one. So we can see that when all of them are high, all the push buttons are receiving power and they are sending to the motor. So this is a simple OR logic operation, and you can see that it is working properly as expected. Let's go back to false. We go back to false and we see what happens. So finally, no power being received at the motor side. So this is it, and this is how we do it in Share Portal Siemens, and as we do the simulation of PLCs.